The site is better. If you go to the website, it is available in a lot of languages and also dark mode. So, and that will be updated. Video will have updates in the pinned comment if there are any, but yeah, site will be updated first. The video is about, so now let's get into the video. It's about Legion Pro 5 up to 5070 only. Okay, there are slight differences in the 5070 and the 5070 Ti. The chamber, the vapor chamber, not the vapor chamber, the thermal module in the back, it is slightly larger in the 5070 Ti. That's why I didn't want to include that review in this. Maybe they perform different thermally. So let's immediately get into the review. And first of all, summary. Okay, let's just get this out of the way. Even though the CPU is pretty efficient, now Intel has moved to 3 nanometer process. It is efficient in order to achieve the greatest benchmark score. Both Intel and the brand Lenovo have pushed both the CPU 255HX and 275HX to their absolute limits, which they should not have done. What happens with this is that the CPU heats up a lot, and in order to control the temperature, the performance has to drop by as much as 20%. Okay, that's the sad reality. It is still, even after the 20% performance drop, both the CPU are still pretty great. Okay, let's be clear about that. It's not a bad CPU, but out of the box, if you keep using the laptop as it is, the CPU will heat up a lot. Okay. OLED display is great as long as you are not affected by the PWM flickering, or you can create an environment where you do not need the reflections, so outside lights do not reflect that much. The OLED is pretty good. Some ports, like you would expect in such an expensive laptop, to have like Thunderbolt 5 instead of 4, USB speeds to be 10 Gbps, or the maximum speed that they can have USB speeds, but it's half for two of the ports. No SD card slot, which is kind of expected in a color accurate display. So those are the things you will have to live with. RAM is upgradable, and the RAM can be upgraded up to 6400 megahertz MT per second, mega transfer per second. However, Lenovo by default doesn't include this in all their variants, so be very careful what you are getting. Okay, and of course don't play Lenovo Extra. Keyboard gets hot to touch, so if you plan to game while on the laptop with a keyboard like my sister does, the laptop's keyboard will get uncomfortably hot to touch. Okay, so one of the downside. Due to these reasons, a few things that I mentioned, I will suggest you first look into other laptops from other brands, even from Lenovo's, like the AMD variants and all. Okay, you have all the benchmarks are all here on this site. Compare them. Try to find laptops which have slightly lower temperature or fulfill some needs that this laptop doesn't have. Only look into this laptop when there are no other choice left. Both the 5060 and the 5070 are performing absolute to their limit, to their best. No worries there. Great upgradability. Before we go into the cautions, I want to immediately go into specs. The 275HX is 25% better than 225HX, and I have seen the prices in various markets. The price difference between the both CPUs aren't that much, so I will suggest, if possible, please go for the 275HX. Okay, both are needed to run at lower wattage, but if you have a high performing CPU, the performance drop won't be that much. OLED is great. Okay, but if you are affected by PWM flickering, go for the IPS display. That is also good. 5070 is about 15% better than 5060, so pay accordingly. I will say, if possible, go for 5070, because I have seen the price, at least in this laptop, isn't that much. RAM, Simple thing, don't pay more to Lenovo. If it's cheaper outside Lenovo on Amazon or something, why play with Lenovo? Same thing with SSD, no need to upgrade it to the highest if you can get cheaper. OS, Office, Windows, just go and read that. I'm not going to spend time about this. Wi-Fi 7, everything is clearly written here. Okay, I really don't want to get into those. Now, cautions, important thing to know if you are about to buy this laptop. Heavy CPU tuning will be required to keep CPU temperature in check. You simply cannot use the laptop in any performance mode out of the box normally. I will not suggest that. If you are not ready to do that, don't get this laptop. Simple as that. Many reviewers, you will go online and many reviewers will praise this laptop, even the CPU, that oh no, this is very good CPU, they are performing very well. However, they will not be checking the CPU package temperature. Package temperature is, not just the core temperature, but everything on the CPU, every little components. So that is the temperature that is actually used by CPU brands and motherboard brands to decide how fast the fans should ramp up, if the performance should be decreased, laptop should be shut down to save performance. So that is the temperature to look for, and reviewers tend to ignore that and just focus on the core temperatures. Core temperatures are also the temperature. If you add in MSI Afterburner and show that little FPS and CPU temperature, that is what comes here. To add the package temperatures, you need extra work. So if you ever see a reviewer saying that the temperature is pretty good, just confirm with him what are you using as the temperature. Is it the CPU core temperature or the package temperature? This is the reason this video is so late, because I had to go through multiple reviews, and those who did actually show the package and the temperature, it was clear that the CPU was overheating. If you get OLED display, okay, as I said before, make sure you are not affected by it. First thing is glossiness. So IPS 1 is matte display. You can use it in rooms with lights easily. So you can use it in a well lit room, which is recommended if you plan to work on your system for a long time. Okay. And second thing, OLED display flicker. Okay, so if you are affected, the epileptic seizures that can happen, very few people are affected by this, but if you have to actually confirm, there is no other way to do this. Okay, and using your phone to confirm this is not going to work, because this is a small display, it won't work. On a large display, try to find some other OLED panel and try to use it for long. If you never get a headache, you might not be susceptible to it. If you are, go for IPS. In any case, I think wherever you are, if you can return it, that will be the best thing. Just get the OLED panel. If you do not feel any trouble, just keep it, otherwise return it. 2-vent fan design. So if you use this in a place that is very dusty, be ready to clean it. Fan you will have to clean. The thermal paste you will not have to change, because it comes pre-applied with PTM, a very good thermal paste that lasts long. Few things that I am unclear about, I have written here and here. I don't want to get into them right now. Pros and cons. Pros: color accurate display, great for professional. One Thunderbolt 40 Gbps that also supports DisplayPort 1.4. 3 display, someone said 4 display, but 3 display you can add directly to the laptop. Build is solid, no wobbles. CPU, if you allow it to hit the highest temperature, there is only 6-7% performance drop. Okay, not as consistent as other laptop like XMG's laptop or ROG's Scar 16 or Legion Pro 7i with the same CPU, but still decent enough. The 255HX, only 3% performance drop, although that also turns out, we will see that in the cons. GPU performance, just nothing to say, both perform very well. Of course, it's only 8 GB VRAM, so if you can't find another laptop with higher VRAM, I, only then look into these 50, 60, 50, 70. Great OLED display, everything that you can ask for it already has. I don't want to go. Battery life, some say 4 hours, some say 5 hours. This depends a lot on your use case, but this is an Intel HX gaming laptop, and so don't expect a lot of battery life. Of course, with some tuning you might be able to get it on lower workload, but don't expect a lot of battery life. Memory speed of 6400 mega transfer per second is usually not seen in a laptop with a soldered, non-soldered RAM. Usually you see more than 5600 only in laptop that have soldered RAM. So that is one other great thing. Stable metal body. Neutral good stuff. PTM comes pre-applied, so you do not have to worry about changing thermal paste for long, sometimes for the whole life of the laptop. Yes, you will have to clean the fans, but you do not have to take the fan module out. 2 RAM and 2 SSD slot. Okay, so SSD is also full size. Pre-installed SSD in many markets are of good speed. HDMI and 2 USB-C can connect up to 3 outputs. Advanced Optimus with laptop, so if you change between DGPU mode on AC power to battery power mode, okay, so for higher battery life you can sort of, that will be disabled. DGPU if there are no application running on DGPU, that will be disabled, and iGPU will be used mainly for a better battery life. This will need to be done from NVIDIA control panel. Don't try to do it from Lenovo's own app, whichever one it is, because that will require restart. Relatively portable for a 16-inch, relatively portable for a 16-inch laptop. Still a 16-inch laptop, but relatively portable, slightly thin, that's all. Custom extreme mode isn't that much loud. The performance mode is still, but isn't as loud, but they are also, they're still loud. Keyboard is good as always. Legion keyboards are good. Aluminum led plastic body. Touchpad is fine as long as you do not press down on it. As long as you just tap, it's fine. Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 aren't that great speed, but still usable. Okay, some markets do not have the Wi-Fi 7 option. If you do, it's only a few bucks. Get the Wi-Fi 7. Great SSD speed, if both the 512 gigs and the 1 TB. However, it can vary. Webcam is just usable, not the best, not the worst. No IR, so no fingerprint login, no face unlock, and those things are not here. Kind of expected in an expensive laptop. Bad stuff, neutral bad stuff. Fan keeps spinning even in idle, even if there is not a lot of load. They are not loud, but they start spinning randomly. No clean setup. Okay, Lenovo is trying to put a lot of advertisement in their crucial software. YouTube video playback, there are some dropped frames. These things I already covered in the critical extra section above. So no more clean setup. In the back there is just fan vents and everything. Even though the body is sturdy, when you put it completely down 180-degree hinge, the hinge doesn't feel as strong in that stage. Every other stage it's fine. There is slight creaking noise if you twist the laptop from the right hand side. Something to know. This is a very important thing. Palm rest and touch pad area can get hot to touch while under high workload. Okay, so that can be a very big troubling thing for you. HP Omen, Asus Scar 16 with the 9955 HX 3D CPUs are relatively very cool even in high workload on the type keyboard area. Cons. Okay, both the CPU 275HX and 255HX, since they heat so much at the higher 175 watt, they have to run at a lower 65, 70, 80 watts. Okay, and when that is done, they lose about 20% of their performance. Okay, that is the basic thing that's written here. So 275hx. When it's allowed to run normally, this time the TJ max is 105 degrees, the CPU can go up to 105 degrees. So but when it starts to run, it pulls a lot of 181 watt power, but as soon as it hits 100 degrees in a few seconds, it drops immediately to 60 watts and then runs at a very low clock speed at about 20%. It loses about 20% of its performance. Okay, of course overclocking, undervolting might improve this, but out of the box, that's the thing. 255hx can pull 180 watts by itself and can go and goes down to 135 watt when on full CPU usage. Yes, you might be confused why as the 255hx is 135 watts and that is 60 watts. I have no answer. Okay, I have an answer. At 60 watt, this CPU runs at 82 degrees. At 135 watts, this CPU runs at more than 90 degrees. How much was it at 135 watt? 98 degrees. So that's the difference. Here it stabilizes to a cooler temperature. Here it tries to give a higher performance. It happens due to various people trying to run laptop in different performance mode mainly. And CPU easily crosses 100 degrees in long benchmark. It can even go up to as high as 105 degrees. Now you might say the CPU says that's its operating temperature, but the other components beside the CPU will also get heated. Same two vent design thing. If you live in a dusty place, a lot of dust is there in there, you will need to clean the laptop more frequently. No ports at the back, so no more clean setup. Every ports are to the right and left. Back there is just vent. Okay, so no more clean setup like before. Speakers, you will be disappointed, and they are not as loud, and if you try to artificially make them loud with the new software, they will crackle and it will not sound good. So kind of a sad thing, sort of expected at this price. You start as the laptops are expensive, you start to expect that, take for granted that some things will be here like an SD card reader, proper speed USBs, or a Thunderbolt 5, but they are not here. The fans can be loud in high performance mode. You can turn on to move to balance mode. There will be 13% drop in CPU and 22% drop in GPU performance if the sound bothers you. Okay, benchmark and others, we already talked about this. Performance, as I said, pretty great performance. Okay, even in lower temperatures. If anyone wants to check all the benchmarks, it's on the site. PTM cups pre-applied in all regions, and anything else 100 degrees more. I think we talked about everything. Let's just show you this because I know people will say that I am wrong. So it's 98 degrees. So this is 255hx, 135 watt, and it's 98 degrees. 115 watt. So this is GPU was always under control, no problems there. 85 watt, CPU is at 91 degrees, and 65 watt, the CPU is at 85 degrees. Okay, apart from that, I don't think there are a few benchmarks in the pictures also. Battery life, they say 7 hours in this, but I say 5 hours normally. It depends a lot on your use case. Now let's wrap the video up, and the most important question is, should you buy this laptop? So I will say, first try to find, now that you know that whatever the CPU benchmark performance every YouTuber is saying is exaggerated or not at a safe temperature, drop that by 20% or just check the benchmarks on this page. Okay, cut those performance by 20% and then compare this laptop to what other laptops you can get right now. Okay, and if there are other laptops that around this performance are perform better or give some extra stuff, that might be a deal breaker to you. But mainly I think the main concern for me is heat. both the CPU heat and the heat on the keyboard and the touchpad, which can be quite irritating for a lot of people and might affect the long-term viability of the laptop. So if there are other laptops, try to go for them. And if you are an Intel fanboy, just know what you have to do. Okay, you can still get this laptop, just be ready to do a lot of tuning when you get the laptop. You're not going to run this laptop as it is out of the box. 65 watts, that is mostly. Even if you want to go higher than that, you will have to do undervolting tuning, Intel X2U, Vantage, whatever it is. It's not that difficult, but you must know that you must be ready for that, because it requires a certain, what's a stability check. So you can undervolt, you can overclock a bit, undervolt a bit, but you will have to test it for some time, okay, to make sure that it's working fine for that temperature. So it's a bit of setup. I will say look at other laptops. If there is no other laptop left, no other laptop that can give you these things, only then look into this HP Omen, and with the same specs, and the Asus with the 9955HX are great alternatives. Even Lenovo's own 8945HX and 9955HX, even though those CPU also go as high as 100 degrees, when you thermally limit them, they do not drop as much in performance. They retain a lot of their performance. So try to go for that laptop. In the end, you can also get this. Just remember what I said about tuning and all. Okay, so see you next time.